Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be looking at Ultraman by Ultraact. This is a Bandai Tamashii Nations figure. It's not actually SHF, but it scales just a little bit bigger. It's definitely one of my favorite ones, and we're going to be unboxing and looking at it. So size comparisons back here overlooking, of course, is going to be a standard figurized version Kamen Kuga and a standard high-grade Revive RX-78. So before we get into it, just appreciate that box a little bit. It's nice and very showy. And gonna snip this little sleeve that's wrapped around here, nice and simple to pop open. Then we're going to go ahead and grab the handy dandy trusty leathering knife. This knife is actually really nice too because it never seems to lose its edge no matter what. So do a little slice. And we got it open. Time to go ahead and pull this hero out. So for those that do not know, Ultraman is a Japanese, pretty much kind of like a superhero. What he was a blend of an alien and scientist in a spacecraft, and he grows to a giant size and fights kaiju. Pretty much in a nutshell. So already taking him out, he feels super smooth, like the actual finish on him and everything. Now, this also was secondhand, and this was purchased through Madarake, which is a Japanese, kind of like eBay kind of thing, but pretty much for this type of things. So we can see here two double joint in the elbow. The head also has two double pegs. There's one that goes into the base of the head, and one at the bottom of the collar. Doesn't work doesn't seem move too much, but you can get that bend up and get that iconic flying punch pose real well. There's a fake kind of butterfly joint too there. It goes in the McFarlane approach, that it's a long pipe with a ball that clips into the center, and that's where it moves. So right there that I have and moving around is one of two. There are two little pegs there on the back that come out of the zipper where you can plug in actually a piece for a stand. So here in this little instructional, it shows you a little bit better. So the one in the lower half too is a lot harder to take out. It's not as easy as you would think. But the abdominal seems to also have a ball joint in the top that goes into where the ribs are, and another that goes into the groin. You have a drop down hinge there in the hips as well as a swivel in the top, but not a actual full cut swivel joint. Double joint in the knee, of course, too. And all the joints move nice and buttery. For being a secondhand figure, this is very nice in shape. The only comment that I do have to say is the hips and its drop down motion. That does get very loose and wiggly. So that's the thing to always keep in mind. So as you can see here too, there seems to be a floating piece that sits right there in the abdominal for the top and the bottom. So it doesn't seem to really hinder too much the bottom, but yeah. Now, straightening out everything, you can really appreciate the zipper look on there also. And here's going with the drop down hips as they kind of sink a little bit. But let's take a look a little bit more inside of the package. So we got here are a pair of chopping hands, a pair of open relaxed hands, peace signal, and a alternate capacitor, as well as some dashing ground effects for digging in the heels. Then the beam and the blade, which can't really recall the name of it. I think it's the C-beam beam or something like that. And then you have your slightly less open, relaxed hands. So there he is sporting a peace hand. So just to mention about the hands too, the best way for them is to bend them all the way down, then hold the ball peg and pull. That way you don't put any pressure on the peg, risking it to snap or anything like that as well. Now, yeah, you can see in the distance Kuba is just kind of watching. So now some actual size differencing. So the HG is about 5.3, then standard figure is exactly at 6. So he is on the taller side of a 6-inch figure. A very nice sizing, especially if you are in the 1/12 scale collective. Now, if you're going to have an SHF version of anything, he will tower them. He is actually a very nice size for what he is. Um, I do have to say too, the pricing that you usually line up on this one, because it is out of print, it usually is going to be around 100. So here's a little pose of some standing off of Kuga, and then just a little bit of a hey, don't get any closer, man, looking pose. But there are some poses here that in the box suggests, and the full crouch kind of ready to tussle wrestler stance that he has. I did not really get him as deep of a squat that he can go. More because I was worried about those drop down hips. I mean, you can see here in the standard figure eyes too how they did it. Is it mimics a faux drop down, but it doesn't have the risk of it getting wobbly, because it definitely went with more like the Marvel Legends, like ball peg, and you just it's clipped in there. While this has that, it also has that drop down hinge there. So here was my attempt of just kind of that squat. It's not great, didn't do too much of a bend. Coming in with a flamer kick by Kuga. Uh, so you can see here the squat that he has is much deeper squat he's got going on there. And then that running pose, you will have to take out the plug in the lower half and put in the plug for stand compatibility. Now, I did not change the capacitor to show either the red version, just because I'm not super sure how to take that one out. In the instructions it does say, but and I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, that just looks great. This is some good old-fashioned luchaing. And right there you can see in that image too how the drop down works. It's loose in that one hinge. Now, when you got him posed, he holds nice, even for having those wiggly drop downs. So, given the table a good shake, we're gonna see that the figure eight stand is the only thing that's really, look at that jiggling. But figure eight stand is actually the thing that's kind of worrisome. But yeah, you can get some nice poses because they works very well with them, especially of the 6-inch scale. And those bends are very organic and smooth. I also was trying not to chip anything of that silver metallic paint, but it held up really good. You get a nice view too of those floating pieces just a little bit. It is a larger piece up there in the chest too. Now, if you were to take out those pieces, you would be able to increase the mobility a little bit. That's actually a little bit of a thing that I've learned with just customizing. But as is he bends pretty good. Giving him more mobility would be nice, but it's not a must, because you can get most of those poses. Now, here's a little bit better look of the blade and the beam, and your other hands as well, and the capacitor up there too. Yeah, open palms. Those open palms are interesting because they are very expressive, and they're strangely wide open, but not super open. While the slightly open hands are kind of more of your relaxed, just kind of hands down, and then your fists too. The fists do a little bit to me, kind of seem on the smaller side in comparison to the other hands, but it's just probably because of the clench. So, my final thoughts on, well, I mean, first here too, you'll see on the left, you see a lot of figures surrounding him, as see some Zaku's on the left, and then come, and that green Zaku is the master grade version of the F-Zero. So, and then you got Char's Zaku there staring too. But my final thoughts on it is, if you can find this Ultraman, I definitely highly recommend. I gave him 5 out of 5 stars. The improvisation of making his hinges a little better Yeah, you can see a little bit better of the view there too. But improving or fixing his wiggly hips is a plus if you want him to be nice and firm. But I definitely love him. I think the red that he has is perfect for the classic look. He's not baggy. He is more on the muscular side, but yeah, he's definitely going to be one of your best ones there on the market. A little hard to find, but it looks super sharp. So now we go and look at the counterpart that most people are going to look at when thinking of getting an Ultraman. It's not the Mafex one, uh, but it is what we mentioned a little bit earlier, the SHF. But this one here definitely is one of the best ones. And let's take a look. So here is the Shin Ultraman from the newest style one. So we're going to a little bit of a farther out pan just because you can see the sizing. So you can see Ultra Act Ultraman is the whole size of the box. It's no exaggeration just to see. And it is a bit of a letdown, honestly. Like, yeah, moving this here in the front, you see that now the figure size is the same size, but look at that right there. And the Shin Ultraman, he's supposed to be in that 6-inch scale, technically, but he is not. He is, if anything, more in your 5-inch scale, honestly. So let's get posed up the Ultra Act one, and then we will be on our way to looking at Figuarts. Yep. So here on the right, of course, Ultra Act, Ultraman. And let's take a look fully at the box. The box isn't anything too crazy. I do like this look of this sign back here. It looks nice. The image too here makes him look the size of Ultrax Ultraman, which should have been the height for this style, especially because the Shin Ultraman has so much more of a sleek alien look, while the Ultra Act one has the preferred look of me of being the, a wrestler in a suit essentially. Uh, but it's just a lot. So what came inside is just a few hands, and then look at that size difference. Give him a good T-pose. I will say his chrome is very, very shiny. It's very nice, but his crimson red is fine, but doesn't it doesn't feel like Ultraman to me. And I get it's supposed to be Shin, so that's also why too. They don't have the capacitor in the chest either, which I didn't think I'd really care much, but I do miss it when I look at that figure. I'll be honest, he's missing the capacitor. It's like an Iron Man without the arc in the chest, you know. So let's pull some guys too, just to see a little bit more size comparison here. Because obviously, we're looking at our 6.2 is what Ultra Act measures in about. So you can see the difference right there. Then we got Kuga, who's at the 6. Now, it looks almost as if he's a little bit closer to Shin. It's not. No, he's not. He is not. And a rider being taller than an Ultraman. That's just, it's blasphemy to me. Guy's supposed to grow to be gargantuan sizes to be able to fight kaiju. How's he gonna do that, being so tiny? If I was to do stop motion in the crew, then it would work perfectly fine. So the only person he seems to tower is, our SFO Ryu Revoltech. And that's because, he is more in the 3-inch kind of scale. So, doing some posing up with, the Master Grade Zaku, it does look good. It does make him look like he's fighting imposing monsters. you know. So here's a little sped up too, just because of this posing and everything. So the motions you get from the Shin Ultraman, they're all real good. It's all about the same as the Ultra Act, smooth as can be too. Those hip joints too, they're actually a little bit hidden, so you do have that little division sign, but you don't have the issue of the wobbly hip, which is the only pro. But honestly, that posing there too, if you're wanting for your Shin Ultraman to do his growing, there he is. But there he gives him a good dogeza to ask for forgiveness too. So final thoughts, of course, is to go with the Ultra Act Ultraman if you can get him. Honestly, he's the better that he will look kind of like that classic look. If you want something different, then the Shin Ultraman is a great one to go. There is a dynamic version, which is about 18 inches though. I think that's the only way that he really looks impressionable, unless you're doing photos and photography of posing. I got him and I immediately sold him back because I was like, he has a better resolve to the hips, but it's not the Ultraman for me. Now, I did end up getting rid of my Ultra Act after a while because he was taking too many shelf dives. I do have actually planned a custom that I'll be working on, and I'll be sharing it here, I'm sure. But thanks for tuning in, and hopefully the next video will actually be maybe another review, or maybe one of a little thing that I'm going to be making that are the custom corners. So there's going to be custom figures that I have worked on and that I feel happy about. Many of them will be ones I have already sold, but personal ones that I keep too, I'll be talking about those also. So I will see you on the next one. See ya!